Well, yeah, when I was making the previous video and finishing it up, I thought I was wrapping the whole thing up with this memorabilia, and I suddenly realized when I was looking at this T-shirt, it has the names of all the houses: Jack's Clown House, Funhouse and Clownovision, Vampire, Bloodbath, Dead Silence, The Curse of Mary Shaw, The Thing Assimilation, Friday the 13th, Camp Blood, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Flesh Wounds, and since I mentioned it before, here is the brochure. It says Flesh Wounds in the brochure. Where did it say Fresh Wounds? It said that somewhere. It wasn't in the brochure. I don't know where it was. Somewhere it said Fresh Wounds instead of Flesh Wounds. I'm not making that up. Let's see. The Nightmare on Elm Street, Dreamwalkers, Friday the 13th, Camp Blood. All of that is here, right? All of that is here. But here, Silent Night, Psychotic Night. Okay? Silent Night, Psychotic Night. Now, that's what it says on the shirt, because the shirt was made back when that was the original name for the house. The house that somehow, it's here in my notes. It's here in my notes, right here. It's house number 5. Somehow I skipped over that and went to house 6, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know what it was? I was thinking the 3 icons, and I went right from Nightmare to Texas Chainsaw without realizing that, you know, the next house is the next soundstage house, is the other house in soundstage 23, and I missed it. Oh, stupid Jimmy. Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about that house now. And yeah, I showed you the other T-shirt, right? Yeah, so I showed you this. Okay, right. Now, Christmas-themed haunted house. Years before H.R. Blood and Guts, there was a Christmas-themed haunted house. And the haunted house was going to be called Silent Night, Psychotic Night. But that sounds a bit too much like a series of horror movies that came out in the early 80s called, began in the early 80s, called Silent Night, Deadly Night. And I guess someone in the legal department, this is a guess, I don't know for a fact, someone in the legal department may have said, well, that you may be stepping on a trademark or copyright or something. So they didn't use that name. But, and this is kind of a key thing, they decided then, since it was about lunatics, to key it in to an ongoing franchise that they had at Halloween Horror Nights. Because back in 2003, I believe it was, they had Psychoscarapy. And then they brought that back the year before, 2006. They brought that back as Psychoscarapy Maximum Madness, and they incorporated Jack the Clown into that. Well, okay, so we have created a franchise about the inmates of Shady Brook Asylum. Well, let's say those inmates got loose. What would happen if they got loose? And now, I think there might have been some inspiration about a couple of other movies as well. Why do I say that? Okay. Back in the 80s, the same era as the Silent Night, Deadly Night, there were a couple other little horror movies that had to do with lunatics coming out of an insane asylum causing trouble and getting around a certain time of year, a certain thing. One of them, which was called Clown House, they got into a circus and killed the clowns and took their makeup and outfits, and they found their way to a place where there was a little boy who was scared of clowns, and they sieged his house. There's some creepy stuff about what went on behind the scenes in that movie. I'm not going to get into that. Doesn't change the movie itself from being a good movie, even though stuff going on between takes was pretty horrible. But never mind that. Alright, never mind that. There was another movie from the earlier 80s called Alone in the Dark. Do not confuse it with another film with the same title. That's shit. This was an older film. It was one of those early 80s films, and it took place in an insane asylum. And the inmates got loose, and part of it happened around Christmas. At least I think it did. And so it has a similar idea of insane asylum inmates getting loose and getting into a fantasy world, whether it's clowns or Santa Claus or whatever, as part of their, and visiting or besieging a house or a community with their horror. And this is, I think, partial inspiration for this house. So they took the notion of the psychoscarapy inmates getting loose at Christmas time and invading a little village, a little town, very similar to, say, Bedford Falls from It's a Wonderful Life, or another similar named town from a film called Gremlins. You know, there's some sort of little wonderful town at Christmas time and wreaking unholy havoc. Ho 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 ho. And that's what happened. A sort of Christmas-themed horror house. So wonderful. You go through the little town, and the broken down ambulance is there, crashed into a house, and then you go through a series of houses, and it's all really neat. And it's Christmas time, and there's snow, and it's always kind of cold in some of these sound stages. And you go from one house to another, and outside in between houses, and the Christmas decorations are up, but all through it is utter carnage and people being killed in nasty ways, themed to the holidays. You know, stuffed in turkeys and killer presents, and made into living Christmas trees with wires, and of course the insane people are running amok, ho 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 ha ha ha, celebrating Christmas in the most bloody and horrible ways. You know, one of them is and they're little homages to Christmas movies. You know, they have like It's a Wonderful Life playing on one of the television sets. The lamp from the Christmas Story, the one that looks like a beautiful lake, you know, the major award lamp from A Christmas Story. You know, even though the movie with the little kid with the glasses and the tongue stuck to the flagpole and eat like the little piggies do. You know, that movie. Christmas perennial nowadays. But the leg is a real human leg that's been severed and made into a lamp now instead of just the leg lamp. And of course that has reappeared in recent years in certain places. Especially during Halloween Horror Nights 20, we saw it again. So that was part of the ho 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 for the holidays in that ho ho homicidal house. And of course the climax is when you get to the final scene. There's Santa Claus, which is this big fat psychopath with a chainsaw, and he is deranged, mad, bloody Santa Claus. You know, it's like your insanity clause. What do you want for Christmas, little boy? A coal in your stocking? Your foot will not be in your stocking because I'm severing it. Or something like that. Very good. So that was Home for the Holidays. One of the better houses, Psychoscarapy Home for the Holidays. So that's really high on my list too. That was definitely nice, not naughty. Way up high on my list of the better houses of that year. I like that one and Dead Silence. I think those are my two favorites actually. And then Leatherface, and then the other two, Jason and Freddy, and then after that The Thing and Funhouse and Bloodbath at the bottom. That was okay. So I don't know how I forgot that house the first time through. What else do I have here? Now, this isn't merchandise. This is stuff I downloaded. This was just a map I downloaded off the internet because back then I downloaded that before I got these, before this was available, and I wanted to check it out. But this is cool. This was something they had on there as an extra called The Tale of Jack. And so I printed it off the website just to read it to you. Jack the Clown, the infamous clown prince of pain, has made a history of creating chaos, scarring the memories of all who experienced his special brand of mayhem and were lucky enough to survive. Jack Schmidt was a carnival performer. He loved to entertain guests with his practical pranks and pratfalls during his stint with Oddfellow's Dark Carnival and Emporium. But underneath the grease paint and clown nose, he held a hideously dark and sinister secret. Jack was a twisted murderer. But Jack was always solitary in his malevolence, relegated to sideshow status. But the crazed clown wanted more. He longed for the spotlight. He desired to be the ringmaster and proprietor of his own dark carnival. Jack returned to his carnival beginnings, back to the traveling depravity of Oddfellow's dark carnival and emporium. Through the darkness of night, he stalked through the tents and took his vengeance. When Jack emerged from the tents, he was wearing the bright red coat and boots of the ringmaster. He had also adorned a crude-top hat with terrible trinkets of his liking. He completed the transformation with an Oddfellow's most prized possessions, a silver-headed cane of souls. Jack has now come to Orlando to unleash the twisted carnival Oddfellow always denied him. Beware all who enter the big top, for you may never be able to leave. Alrighty then. So anyway, that was the story of Jack off the website from 2007. Was there anything else? It seems to me there might have been some other bit of memorabilia I might have picked up somewhere that year. Some little trinket or a thingy or something I might have got that year. I can't think. What could I maybe have? Yes. There's this. This I got because even though you can't have costumes, they did happen to sell this lovely item along with the hat. I think they had some sort of, I believe they also had Jason masks. I don't know if they had leather face masks. They might have. But this was something I thought, oh, this is pretty darn neat, and I like to have that, because why should Bob be the only one in the house with claws, right? Fair play and all. So I did get this lovely item. So, all I can say now is, pleasant dreams. Next time, Halloween Horror Nights 18. Reflections of Fear, Part 1. Yeah.